Not really much coming out back here. I wonder if this is a head gasket problem. Interesting. Okay, although I'm convinced we have valve leakage on the number 2 cylinder, the amount of smoke coming out of the number 3 cylinder makes me worry. It's perfectly legitimate theory that the leakage coming out of the exhaust valves on the number 2, going through the turbo into the open exhaust valve and coming out the number 3, that's perfectly logical and probably the most likely explanation. But what I'm thinking is the dealership said they were having misfires on cylinder 2 and cylinder 3, and they put coils on cylinder 2 and 3. So I think for due diligence we need to at least check leak down on cylinder number 3 and see what the leak down percentage is on that. So let's do that. Back out with the plug. With our hose. We'll need to reposition the engine with exhaust valves closed on this one, so that we'll need to watch this cylinder and basically go 180 degrees. We're going to turn the engine over till the number 2 piston is going up on its exhaust stroke. I'm not sure you can see what I'm doing, but I'm turning the engine over with the ratchet at the crankshaft pulley in order to see when this piston is coming up, and it does seem to be coming up now on the exhaust stroke. And hopefully you can see in the borescope that the piston is coming up. Okay, based on our cylinder number 3 leak down, but you can see the red here is high leakage, the yellow is moderate leakage, the green is low leakage, and this is so low it's very near 0% there. So cylinder 3 doesn't have any leakage. I guess that makes it pretty conclusive that the number 2 does have leakage at the exhaust valves, and the head needs to come off this car. I am seeing some smoke coming from the back near the turbo and exhaust manifold area. We'll raise that up and see if we can tell where that's coming from. Okay, so you can see there the flange there has a slight exhaust leak, and I think that's why nothing's coming out of the back, because the smoke's coming out up here. So I would presume that this is a exhaust valve problem. The leak down test shows moderate leakage at 55%, and it's coming out of the exhaust valves. So I guess our recommendation needs to be to pull the head. Okay, we will be pulling the head on this and warranting it for our customer. I have made a phone call to our machine shop that does all our cylinder heads, and during that phone call conversation he mentioned that he has numerous complaints of this on this engine, whereas in a short period of time after the repair he is having valve sealing problems, and he's attributing it to the type of guide that he put in the exhaust. He's saying he put in bronze guide. He says the OEM material is a different type of material I've tried to do some research on find out what that material is and whether it's like a steel material or a cast iron material. He's saying it's a definitely different material, and unfortunately in all the rebuilds he did, he knocked all the exhaust valve guides out and put in these bronze ones, and he says they are failing. He said the last two heads that he's had of this type he's refused to do, and he's recommended an OEM head. One of his customers actually bought an OEM head and brought it down to him, and he tried to make a comparison of the guide clearance and the guide clearance was exactly what he was doing with his bronze guides, so that isn't the issue. He does have a very expensive SERDI machine. He has multiple valve machines, but he has a very expensive SERDI machine, so I have 100% confidence that he's doing the job right. It's just the material's wrong. At this point, I don't know what the solution is going to be on this car. He doesn't have access to getting the OEM type of guides, but he wants to see the head. We're going to take the head to him, and at that point we'll have to make a decision on whether we're going to provide this customer with an OEM head or do something else. Now, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking how many others of these vehicles are out there riding around with guides that ain't supposed to be in there. Until a source becomes available for this material type of guide, repair shops like mine aren't going to be able to offer a head type repair unless we go with an OEM head. He's saying he's had multiple failures. One of our competitors has had 2 or 3 heads down to him, and they've all failed, eventually using the OEM head. And at this point, that seems like the only option we're going to be able to offer our customers, because if we can't rebuild these heads with the proper guide that's going to live and last, then we'll have to go with an OEM head. We'll be pulling this head and looking at the wear on the valve guides to see if there's any, and of course we'll take that head down to the machine shop. Okay, I just returned from the machine shop that rebuilt this head for us, and he just took a quick inspection by pulling the valve out, and he's going to refund my money because this is obviously a problem. The valve has a whole lot of clearance in the guide, and he said if we took the other ones apart we'd find that they were all bad also. But see there, it's almost closed and it has all that clearance in there, and he said we'd probably find the same type of wear on the others also. He did mention that sodium filled exhaust valves, and that may be a contributing problem. If he doesn't know for sure whether he used sodium filled valves or not. He doesn't think so though, because they're $50 a piece. If you look inside there, you can kind of see that the hole is not even round. So obviously that's a big problem. So here's what he's basically saying, that by the time he rebuilds the head, and when these break the timing chain, it bends all 8 valves. Generally it does anyway. If it bends all 8 valves and you have to buy sodium filled exhaust valves at $50 a piece, you can buy a dealer head basically for the cost of rebuilding it plus all the sodium filled valves. So this is another nail in the coffin of this CCT engine, whereas we currently have tensioners that fail, that bend valves. We have turbos that wear out, causing PO299 code. We have water pumps that fail because they're plastic. We have crankcase vent valves that fail and they rip out the rear main seal. Rear main seal requires the transmission to be removed in order to fix it. And what else? Cam timing, oil control valves for the cam timing, that cam timing solenoids, or Volkswagen calls it a cam timing magnet, that stick. And there's some reports on the internet of oil usage problems also, so not the greatest engine in the world, that's for sure. Well, I have a dealer head on the way, but we'll be putting the dealer head on it. Well, the new OE Volkswagen head is here. There's the part number. Very interested to see what the material of the valve guide is, and also it'd be nice if I could identify whether the exhaust valve was sodium filled or not. There's a starburst pattern on the exhaust valve there. Intake valves. That's rather strange. They put tape over it, but then they punch a hole in it. Wonder why they did that. They did the same thing on the intake. I use my valve spring compressor to take the valve keepers off, and I'm going to look at this and see what material the guide's made out of and get a closer look at the exhaust valve. It has some numbers here on the end. You're probably not going to be able to read it on camera, but it says IT16D11P, I6D11P. This has no ability. The bottom end does not stick to a magnet. That means it's probably stainless. The top end does. Strange. It's obviously composite. They've probably welded that to it somehow. Still have no way of knowing whether it's sodium filled though. The exhaust seat has this number on it. It's upside down, but it looks like 06LD. And my magnet sticks to that. And there's the guide, and my magnet sticks to that. So that's probably some type of cast iron alloy. And the only thing this means is if we want to be able to rebuild these heads and save customers money rather than buy an OEM head, we're going to have to find a guide material that we're happy with, whether it be cast iron guide with a sodium filled valve. I think that's probably what we're going to need to do. If you enjoyed this video or you learned anything from it, be sure and click the like button. And if you want to donate to the continued production of these videos, visit my website at www.kansascitytdi.com and find the donate icon. And if you want to watch some more of my videos, there's one right there. You can probably find one right there. And don't forget to subscribe right there.